I hope you had a great long weekend. Welcome to Spicer and Company. I'm Sean Spicer.
And I'm Lindsay Keith. We've begun the unofficial start of summer, and it's been our first test of the new normal. As social distancing guidelines openings have received mixed reviews so far.
Yeah, the longer weekend and some warmer weather probably gave many places a lot of excuses to go out and venture around. But air travel actually did pick up, but it's down a fraction of where it was. The bottom line, though, for a lot of folks is, are you actually willing to fly? We're going to talk with Sarah Nelson. She's an icon in the airline industry about what's needed to turn things around. And here's an interesting thing. Is the Republican Party about to pull its convention out of North Carolina? There is a showdown brewing between the president, party officials, and the state's Democratic governor. But North Carolina, like the other 49 states in the union, has started to reopen. But as with everyone else, some restrictions. Gatherings are limited in North Carolina to about 10 people indoors and 25 people if you want to gather outdoors. That has President Trump concerned because guess what? The Republican convention is definitely going to be more than 25 people, and it's scheduled in Charlotte this August. And if crowd restrictions aren't lifted, it could have a major impact on the whole convention. There's tens of thousands of people scheduled to go to North Carolina. So the president tweeted, quote, "They must be given an immediate answer by the Gov as to whether or not the space will be allowed to be fully occupied. If not, we will be forced reluctantly to find, with all of the jobs and economic development it brings, another Republican National Convention site. This is not something I want to do. Thank you, and I love the people of North Carolina." It's very polite. Well, North Carolina's Democratic Governor Roy Cooper responded in a tweet, of course. State health officials are working with the RNC and will review its plans as they make decisions about how to hold the convention in Charlotte. North Carolina is relying on data and science to protect our state's public health and safety. And the RNC told Newsmax in a statement, the RNC wants to hold a full in-person convention in Charlotte, but we need the governor to provide the assurances that it can occur. We will need some answers sooner rather than later, or we'll be forced to consider other options. Well, can the convention, with all the logistics and planning, be moved in less than 3 months? Joining us is Republican Congressman of North Carolina, Richard Hudson. Congressman, welcome.
Great to be with you, Sean.
Well, I've been involved in 2 of these conventions, and I know how long it takes to plan them and to execute them. How concerned are you, because of the economic impact that this brings the entire state of North Carolina, that the party's considering even moving this convention?
Well, it is concerning because, we're really counting on this convention to be a huge economic impact on our region, on our state. The convention in Cleveland, I think, was $188 million of impact. We're really looking forward to showcasing the region as well as launching the reelection of President Donald Trump. So we're concerned. I think the president was right to raise the question. I think he made a reasonable request that we need some assurances from the governor. But I believe the convention is going to stay in Charlotte. I think we'll be able to work through it.
So the governors of both Florida, or the states of Florida and Georgia, have already raised their hand and say, hey, we'll take it. Have you reached out to your governor to ask him what he's doing to make sure that this stays firmly in North Carolina?
We've had those discussions, and actually today our Secretary of Health and Human Services, Mandy Cohen, sent a letter to the convention asking for our specific plan. So I take that as a good sign that they want to do what they need to do to work through this with us. So I'm still counting on the convention being in Charlotte, and I think we can overcome these concerns.
So just to play devil's advocate for a second, the governor's obviously concerned, right? You get tens of thousands of people descending on Charlotte, and something were to outbreak. He's going to be held accountable for that, especially heading into his own election this November. Does the governor have a point here that he should be concerned, not just for the convention goers, but for the residents of Charlotte and the surrounding areas?
Well, I think we're all concerned, as we look to put this convention together for the health of the visitors who will be coming to Charlotte, but also for the citizens of Charlotte and the region, having all these folks come in from other states. So we're all concerned about it, and I think it's right to be concerned. But I think there are measures we can take, whether it's certain types of testing, different levels of testing. I think the ultimate question is, can we put 50,000 people in the arena at one time? That may not be the case, and so we're looking at alternative plans.
And so what are you, I know obviously all the members of the delegation, probably regardless of party, to your point, have a big interest in having this there from the economic impact. Is there something that you're doing with your colleagues to kind of bridge the divide between the campaign and the president and the governor and maybe even the mayor?
Well, yesterday when we saw the tweet, we reached out to the governor's office. We've been in constant contact with the governor and with his administration throughout the last several months, dealing with COVID and all the things we need to do to prepare healthcare providers and others in our state. So we have a good dialogue with the governor. And so, we've reached out to his office just to say, if you need help, let us know. We think the president's raised a valid point. We'd like to see you work through this with him. I haven't personally reached out to the governor directly. I've been encouraged since, the president's tweet to see the governor responded to him, and then the letter today from our state health and human services director. I think these are positive signs. I think the conversation is ongoing. And again, I'm confident that, while the convention may not look like past conventions, we're going to move forward with the convention in Charlotte.
Yeah, I mentioned that the governor of Florida and others have reached out trying to bring it to Florida. There was a report, though, that the president wanted to bring the convention to his property in Doral. He actually tweeted out, though, quote, "I have zero interest in moving the Republican National Convention to Doral in Miami, as falsely reported by the fake news New York Times in order to stir up trouble. Ballroom is not nearly big enough and would like to stay in North Carolina, whose gov doesn't even know if he can let people in." So I think that he wants to stay there. I think the governor clearly needs to give him those kind of assurances that he can stay. Is that a fair assessment?
I think it is. And again, the response from the state today was, let's look at your plans. Let's start looking at details. And I think that's the right response. I take that as a positive sign. But, it's amazing. You've broken news here today, tonight on TV. The New York Times got something wrong. This is amazing. Stop the presses. I can't believe you've exposed the New York Times, Sean, but you did it here tonight.
Oh, you haven't. This is just the beginning of the show, Congressman. You should see what we got coming up. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for everything you're doing to keep the convention on in there in North Carolina, and I hope you guys stay safe there.
Thank you. Stay safe, Sean.
You bet.
Well, Sean, conventions are something that we both worked on before. It does seem like it might be safe, like the congressman was saying, it might happen. But from your perspective, is this something that you think Trump will try to really keep it there, or can it get moved?
Yeah, so this is really interesting. If this was any other president, I would say this is a silly conversation because, as you know, conventions take years to plan. You're talking hotels, traffic routes, security, et cetera, et cetera. But I would never test Donald Trump. And I could see him going, fine, let's pull the trigger and get out of there. He's going to push that governor to the brink to make sure that that decision is made and they have protections coming in. But under any normal circumstances, this wouldn't even be a credible threat. But because Trump will do things like this, he's got to be taken very, very seriously.
Do you think that the governor's response so far, do you think it is a good response? I mean, it's interesting because you did make a great point, playing devil's advocate. It weighs on his shoulders if some outbreak happens and a convention does happen. And so he has to be smart about it. He can't just say, yeah, because obviously for the economy, it's great to have a convention. We both have seen in Cleveland, just like the governor was mentioning, it brings in millions and millions of dollars for the city. And so it's a great thing for cities to host and to have. They would, on all accounts, want to have it there. But do you think this is political in any way? Well,
look, they just had a great race there, NASCAR race. They know, I think the governor knows he's asked all of these sports teams to put a plan together to talk about how they can reopen. He's got to make sure that his people are safe. He's asked the RNC to give him a plan to say, you want to hold this. I need to make sure that you're going to implement some kind of measures to protect the people who are coming and also my citizens. So, the governor, I think this will all work out, but he's now pushing back on them and saying, I want you here. I understand the economic impact, but I also need you to show me a plan that makes sure that you're just not going to have 50,000 people descend on Charlotte and potentially have an outbreak here that I will be held responsible for. Oh, by the way, when I'm up for re-election myself.
Yeah, because he's up for re-election in November. So you make really great points.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, I'm sure this isn't the end of this. It seems like we've got several tweets to go before it's final.
Several more months. It'll be interesting to see how long it actually goes.
I think we have to have an answer by the end of the week. There's no way it can drag on. Anyway, well, Memorial Day was traditionally a big weekend for air travel, but COVID-19 put a halt on all of that. The head of the Flight Attendants Association in the past has said she wants to stop all leisure travel. Well, let's get her to give us an update. She's going to tell us next why. Plus, Senator Marsha Blackburn says that you, all of us, should be able to sue China. Well, how's that going to work? She's going to join us. And the former president of CBS News said out loud what we all know. Yes, the mainstream media is liberal, and it's working to undermine President Trump. We're going to talk about all of this. Stick around.